Grand Rising Cancer, how are you doing this fine morning? I'm up here in my little silk robe, my pajamas. You know, Cancer, I just felt like because I'm one of you and you're one of me, that I could come here today in my pajamas and you would understand. It's super early in the morning. I'm wanting to be comfortable, and I feel like, you know what? What better sign to be comfortable with than the sign that rules the home, the fourth house in the zodiac? So, that's what we're doing today. We're going to keep things comfortable. Today is a couple days before Halloween. Got a little Halloween party for my children tonight, and I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited, but a little bit nervous to get this Cancer reading out of the way. If anyone has looked at any of the other signs or looked at the collective reading, I'm holding people accountable. Accountability is the new love. That's how God does. He holds us accountable. And this is a moment to kind of hone in and hold myself accountable. So whenever I read, I always like to, especially when it's, holding someone accountable or calling someone out in some way, I always like to try to tie things back into myself or get some type of story so that it resonates, so it doesn't seem like I'm just being hard as fuck on everyone and being gentle on myself. This same tough love and the same, I'll say, constructive criticism. Really, I'm not trying to be critical at all, but this same accountability and the same constructive criticism I give to myself, that's how I continue to get where I get as far as, my mentality and my self-awareness. Just keeping it real with myself. So I have a lot to do today. As you can imagine, like I said, I'm having a party for my children tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and just get into it. Sorry. I like these pajamas, but it just gets like weird right here. Don't want to show too much cleavage because working for God here. All right, so I'm going to pull 6 cards for us today, Cancer. Well, 7 actually. The first 6 really attributes to the energy of the number 6. 6 is all about getting that relationship with the higher self, spending time with self. Now, I personally consider the higher self to be 3 years old. The children are the greatest in the kingdom of heaven as far as Jesus is concerned, aka Yeshua. If no one knows, Jesus' real name is Yeshua. So if you hear me say Yeshua, I'm talking about Jesus. It's all about calling him his name. His name is Yeshua. It's not Jesus. And for me, it's just a respect thing because he'll be here soon. I say soon. That's what everyone says, soon, anytime they think about anything prophetic or, of the future, because it clearly tells you in the scripture that no one knows the day or time. He'll swipe in like a thief in the night. So soon is all you're going to get out of me. Soon is all anybody can get out of me. Anytime I see anything, it's not like there's a date in the corner. I just see what I see and I trust what I see. Probably a lot of you Cancers can relate because we are like lightweight psychic and probably since about January, August, really psychic. So the first deck that I'm going to pull, if you have not seen, if you are not aware what the inner child is, I have 2 videos, a part 1 and a part 2. What is the inner child on my YouTube? It goes into, it just briefly tells us what is the inner child, how do we connect with the inner child, and for those of us Cancerians who are parents or any other sign who are parents, it talks about the importance of the 3-year-old and how that helps us as parents. So you can always check that on YouTube. The 7th card that I use after I do the 6th, the 7 is God's favorite number. So it's just a reward. It's the way that I like to sweeten the pot, and the reward is a piece of scripture. Now, when I talk about the Bible and I talk about scripture, I'm not talking about this from any religious standpoint. I do not have a religion. I'm not denominational. I just found too much hypocrisy within religion. And even though religion is supposed to be the thing, I think in a lot of people's eyes that are religious, that sets you free, my relationship with God and Yeshua is enough. And that's not dependent on any relationship. The one thing I like to say is I know in the book, one of the most important things that Yeshua said was, above all else, be kind. And I find that just in my own experiences, when I was a Christian and I was younger, this is just something I was born into and something I was taught, my values. So, I really That's really important to me because it's the foundation in which I grew up on. Um, but it was the hypocrisy for me. That's what really was like, these people can't even be kind, but then you do one thing and, they want to shout scripture at you, but you can't even remember the above all else be kind part, or the part about not judging. And so for me, it was just like, what, I don't want to be associated with anything like that. I'm just going to go on and do my own thing. So yeah, intuitive reader. The first deck that I'm going to be using, that I'm going to pull our first 3 cards from, is the Light Seers Tarot. Tarot is something that I am newer with, but whenever I read, because I'm an intuitive reader, all the decks that I use, it's like a vibe thing. It's a vibe check. This is a very light deck. It's a Light Seers deck. I am a moon child of Cancer. So when I saw that, I knew what that was. Like, oh shit. I saw that. And the Light Seers deck, it's an extension of myself. Like I said, I can already see. I have the gift of sight. It's one of my gifts. My clairs. Claircognizant. And this is a really a high vibe deck. It's just an extension. These cards are an extension of myself for sure. So I like to use these. And then, that's how I look for my tarot decks. People will say tarot's evil, but people just, they got to think. It's all about the energy. This next deck that I'm using is an energy deck. It's a perfect deck to use, and it's an oracle deck. Oracle cards are bigger and clearer, and they were made with positive intention. They don't get the bad stigma that tarot does. With tarot cards, or even oracle cards, I say just feel it out. If they use a lot of dark colors and it's a lot of darkness, it's probably a dark deck. Decks have intentions put into them when they're made, so that's why I just be careful what decks I use. Because just like you can use things for good in this world, you can use shit for evil. Everything's energy, so I felt like this energy deck was a perfect deck to use. Okay. I love a good Cancer read because it's really just a read for myself, really. It's honesty hour. To read for myself and you, us. Alright, Cancer. Cancer, baby. She has some interesting cards here. And, Alright, Cancer. Let's get into it, boo. Okay, so the first card that I see here is a 4 of Pentacles. 4 has to do with, well, let me go into it and show you guys how I do the thing that I do, how I break down my reading and where I pull my inspiration from. So it looks like it's a lady. She has a purse. She is holding the purse to her chest. She has her eyes closed. Her hair's got a little hair blowing, so we know there's some wind. There's some people in the back. There's a village. It's triangles upside down, up, right side up. This looks like a rune, but I don't know what that rune is. It looks like she has a rune on her ear, and I don't know what that rune is. Okay, so let's just break it down the way that I see it. 4 of Pentacles. 4 has to do, well, Pentacles, that is earth signs, okay? So when we think about our Pentacles, that's going to be our Taurus, that's going to be our Virgo, that's going to be our Capricorn. Pentacles have to do with material things, finances, money, material needs, stuff like that, because it's earthly. 4 is 4 of Pentacles. That has to do with angel protection. That has to do with understanding that you are loved, you are guided, you are protected. And the card was upside down. I feel like you have been worried about money lately. because this girl right here, she is holding her bag and she is secure in her bag. Like, she's secure, she's got her eyes closed, she trusts the process, she trusts everything that's going on, but it's upside down. Now, Cancer, I know that you are natural warriors because I'm a Cancer. And in my unevolved state, in my very human state, because we are all human, even though, I'm tapped into my intellectual side, I feel like you are just not, there's a lot of questions when it comes to your finances. So some people may have left their job recently, because I know that there are lots of people walking away from their jobs due to the cocoa or due to having to get the vax. So where you were starting to feel a sense of security as far as your funds and as far as your material needs, I feel a slight sense of worry. Now, even though God is moving around in a lot of people's lives, we all have to acknowledge the fact that the world that we're leaving is a world that is focused on material things. Now, Cancer, I know to be true that there is the Cancer who has something to prove, and that might be the Cancer that works a little bit harder. And then you have the Cancer who procrastinates. You have the Cancer who worries too much. You have the Cancer who isn't tapped into their vibrations, so they are not aware of how strong they are. They're not aware of how powerful they are. They are not aware of how powerful their mind is not. To me, I'm sensing a Cancer who has not stepped into their power yet. And it has you worried as far as finances. I feel like there's some worry as far as like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to work? What type of job am I going to do? The one thing that really stands out to me in this picture when I look at this lady is the fact that she trusts. That's without a shadow of a doubt. She trusts. And the fact that there's a piece of hair blowing out in the wind tells me that she is tapped into everything that is around her. So even though she is earthly, even though she is of this earth, not of this earth, even though she lives here, she is not of this earth. She is learning to trust more. She is learning to tap into what's around her, her multi-senses, not just, the five senses, the basic senses, but then we talk about the sixth sense and we talk about beyond. This is someone who is tapped into everything that's going on around her. And the fact that even though things in front of your two eyes might not be perfect, Cancer, you still have hope and you still have faith. And because you carry this hope and because you carry this faith, that can get turned upside down. The fact that there's people in the background and this person is up on her patio separate, it's like these people are out there dancing, they're partying, they're having a good time, and Cancer's focused. Cancer's staying to himself. It's not personal. It's not personal at all. You're not doing this to anybody on purpose, Cancer. You just are focused. You are just in your bag. You are just focused on how to multiply your bag. And there's nothing wrong with that. You may feel like you've been in hermit mode. People may be like, where you been? I ain't seen you in a while. That's because you're in your bag. Now, this lady, she is wearing an orange scarf. Orange has to do with the emotions. That's a sacral chakra. So it looks like you've just been trying to figure out how to process your emotions. Whereas normally you feel your emotions out because we are feelers. You are getting some emotional intelligence. You are learning to think about your feelings as opposed to just popping the fuck off. And when we pop off, Cancer, it's a different type of pop off, because if you think about the element, if you think about what water is transmutable. Water is something that when you freeze it, it gets cold like ice. It turns into ice. It gets ice cold, literally. And water is something that when you get it hot, when there's friction, shit boils over. So Cancer, you're very calm because you're a water sign, but if someone pushes you to the point and you're in your emotions and you're not working on the logic, then you may fucking pop off, do some things, have a meltdown. I mean, water's uncontrollable once it's ice cold or once it's hot. I mean, water boils over. You have to think about that. But I see that because there's orange up here, you're in your emotional intelligence. You're starting to understand, okay, I can't just go with my emotions. I have to use logic. And that's important because that's balance. That's two energy. That's understanding that you're an emotional sign, working on the fact that you're an emotional sign, but now bringing intellect into it. It's very funny that this card got pulled, Cancer, because let me tell you a little story, small story. One day I was sleeping and, once you start to balance things out in here, you start to notice that there's a voice inside of you that chimes in when you make decisions. I'll say that that's the inner child, aka the higher self. There's another voice that chimes in when you make decisions. And so you use those two voices to kind of navigate life once you've started tapping into that inner child healing, aka shadow work. I was sleeping about 2 weeks ago. And you know how you start to feel your consciousness wake up, like right before you get up to go to the bathroom, you kind of feel yourself waking up a little bit. I was laying there and I hear this voice in my head, and this voice goes, money's not flowing how it should be. And ever since I heard that, I've just been thinking, like, what is it? What is it? What is it? What is it? You have to learn to trust God. There's a very popular site, and it says, or very popular site, it's a very popular verse, and it says, walk by faith, not by sight, which means your faith in this life, Cancer, is going to carry you a lot further than what you see in front of your eyes. And I know that being human, it's hard not to see what's happening in front of you and worry, because we're natural worriers. But that is where faith, that is where your relationship with God comes in. That is where prayer comes in. That is what walking by faith is. Knowing that everything's going to be okay. Knowing that you can trust the process. Knowing that whether you see the riches here or not, you are still connected to God. You are still blessed. He is still with you. He is still moving in the background of your life, even though you can't see him. But if you hone in, if you take that moment to pray, if you take that moment to breathe, if you take that moment to meditate, you'll realize that he's still there and he's not going anywhere. Only if you start doing crazy shit and forget who he is and pledge your allegiance to the dark or something. But other than that, he's always there because he's a forgiver and he's a lover. You have to know that you are loved, you are guided, and you are protected. There are angels in the angelic realm, and this can be God's angels, this can be his archangels, this can be your guardian angels, this can be a family member who just passed. I feel lots of grandma energy. I know lots of people have lost grandmas. I lost mine as well this year. Rest in peace. And so I have to tell you, though, I do feel a peace knowing that she's with me, knowing that she's close, knowing that the way that I feel about myself and the way, and I also see she's holding like a change purse down in that like third or sacral chakra, the sacral and the solar plexus chakra, the second and third chakra. Second represents emotions, feelings. The third represents power, personal power, internal power, control over ourselves, sovereignty. The colors orange and yellow. So whereas, I feel like Cancer, you're trying to take your power back as far as your finances and as far as, you're trying to take control and be more responsible with the money that God blesses you with, trying to be more responsible and intellectual with your emotions. And there's nothing but success that can come after that, but you have to trust. That's the key element of this card and this lady. She trusts. So because she trusts herself, because she trusts God, because she trusts her emotions, because she's got herself emotionally in check, she trusts that God will take care of the financial part. But she knows that that lies in the relationship that she has with herself. She knows that that lies in the value that she has with herself. And when I say she, I could mean he too, but I'm just representing what is pouring off the card, okay? Trust God, baby. Always. He's our best friend, literally our best friend. And if we tap in, we can feel him because he can feel us. And there's no way that we can feel him. There's no way that he could feel us without us being able to feel him. It's a connection that works both ways. But are you tapped into that connection with your father? That's the question, Cancer. Moving on. 6. the Lovers. You know, when I saw this card, it just got me all warm and tingly inside, okay? So, what I see is a woman who is grabbing this man's dreads and she's pulling this man close. And she is just in awe of him. Her hair's whipped around him. She just wants to be just around him. She just wants to be surrounding him. She just wants to be near him, close to him. Now, she's got a bow and arrow on her. I don't know why, but the first thing that I get is Cupid when I see the bow and arrow. The people's foreheads are together, and you might not be able to see it, but they have like Metatron's cube right between their third eyes. So this is like a spiritual connection as well. It's not just a mental connection. She's got on some orange nail polish. She's just pulling him close, and he just looks like she is so beautiful. Like he just can't wait to have her. Everything just looks so passionate, and this card's making me excited. And there is red in the background, and red is all about security. It's all about feeling safe. That is the root chakra. That's stability. The root chakra also represents 0 to 7, which also represents our subconscious mind. That is where I say the inner child is hidden in the dark of the subconscious. So there's a few different ways to look at this. It's getting hot, Cancer. Passion. You could meet someone who makes you feel passionate, someone who makes you feel a way you've never felt, someone who makes you feel like that high school love. You know what I'm saying? Like that just passion. Like you're just, I don't even know if it's passion in high school. It might just be more like puppy love, but it feels fresh. It's something that like you're excited about. Like you're excited to see them. They're excited to see you. I feel that kind of union. She just feels so comfortable with him. So when I look at this Lover's card, this dynamic, this relationship could be a few things, okay? This could be, Cancer, that you are going to meet someone in the flesh that you have a passionate, steamy relationship with. And it's nothing like you've ever seen. But what I hear is beware of temptation. Beware of falling for temptations. Cancer, we love love. And we love being in relationships. And relationships is one of the things, important relationships is one of the things that gives us emotional security. But we have to use our sixth sense. We have to be aware that just because someone shows an interest in us, especially in the beginning, and it seems passionate, we can't always fall victim to that. That intellectual, now emotional intelligence that we're developing is going to help us pick partners. It's going to help us tell whether someone either deserves our time of day. Cancer, and I feel like I can say this to you because we're each other. You might have given your precious, sweet love to motherfuckers who didn't deserve it. You might have done this more than once, because I know that I've done this more than once. I know that I've kissed a lot of toads in my journey. You have to start seeing people for what they are. Passion, sometimes if you're caught up in the eyes of passion, it could be like beer goggles, just not beer, passion goggles. Be so caught up in the passion that you don't see people for who they really are. You might be surrounded by red flags. I mean, there's multiple ways to look at this. You might be surrounded by red flags, all the red in the background, and still say, forget that, because you're so enamored in the passion. Pay attention. Pay attention this month specifically because I believe in the timing of when I'm reading this. This is an October reading, but we're going into, and this is the latter part, so this is already Scorpio season. Pay attention, because things may not be what they seem. Okay? Just pay attention. The other way that this dynamic could be is you could be into a passionate relationship with yourself. You could be developing more self-love. I do notice that there is Metatron's cube right here in the third eye. So Metatron's cube stands for universal understanding. Metatron, Archangel Metatron, he can give us universal understanding. Now, really just a quick backstory on Metatron. Archangel Metatron is sister, brother to Archangel Sandalphon. Now, Archangel Metatron, it was said that Archangel Metatron was here on Earth, and they actually say that Archangel Metatron was Enoch. And then once he continued to evolve, he evolved to a state of mind to where vibrationally he could no longer be here on Earth. So he just ascended naturally. He didn't die. He just ascended because the knowledge that he had, because of the things that he knew and his studying and his relationship with God, he just ascended naturally. So that's the story, behind Enoch. And then he changed to Metatron once he ascended. His name was Sentiment. But he reveals universal truths. So that could be a passionate relationship that you're having with yourself. You might be feeling like, a renewed sexiness in yourself, or you might be feeling a renewed temptress, or like I said, be careful with that temptation. You might just be feeling a renewal in the sexual side of yourself. Now, the way that sexuality can show up in our lives when we're not using it is sexual energy is actually the same thing as creative energy. So if you have an overflow of sexual energy and you're not distributing the sexual energy, you're not sexually active, you're not having any type of release, you might find that there's a bunch of things that you want to do at once right now. There might be a bunch of creative activities that you want to do right now. The red could indicate that there needs to be some grounding. You need to ground yourself. You need to weigh the pros and cons, not of the relationship with yourself, because there's not really having any cons of the relationship with yourself. I think you just need to be honest with yourself and weigh out the pros and cons in your journey. Be more accountable. That's part of self-love. This is me being accountable in this moment for me, us, because we're Cancers, but being more accountable, not taking everything so personal. When you take things so personal, you're so ready to give up your power because you don't know that sometimes, Cancer, it's just not about your ass. It's just not about us some fucking times. And we get so wrapped up in our emotions. I say that as I'm looking at the orange head wrap on her head. We get so wrapped up in our emotions that we cannot see clearly. We get passion goggles, get so passionate in our emotions, and someone hurt our emotions so bad that, hardly there's any intellect in that. So this could be the relationship, the new relationship that you have with yourself. Or this could be the passionate new relationship that you have with our Creator, that you have with God, that you have with Yeshua, aka Jesus. You could feel a renewed purpose and a renewed passion in them. Now, this personally resonates for me because in August, when I moved in to the house that I moved into, January, February, God was calling me. That is part of the reason that he had to move me from where I was at, because the apartment that I was in was dark. And where there is no light, there is no God. It was dark. And I was wrapped up in self-depression, and I was spiraling. I was overeating. I felt no purpose. I felt no passion. And Cancer, that's who we are. We have to have purpose and we have to have passion. And I think that's why we vibe so well with Scorpios. And I wanted to say about this Lovers card, a Scorpio might be in the midst. A Scorpio may be coming into our lives because Scorpios, they are the most passionate. Now, I'm a Scorpio moon. Some of you might have Scorpio in some of your other houses, your big three, your moon, rising, or your sun. You might have a Scorpio in your not Leo. You might have a Scorpio in your Venus, or you might have a Scorpio in your Mars. But I detect there might be some Scorpio energy coming into the mist, whether that just be a really good foundation, a really good friendship that we're starting, or a really good love affair that we're starting. But there's renewed passion in the sense to where you feel it inside of you burning, or someone is going to bring it into your life. And like I said, of course, it could be a passion for God, a passion for Yeshua, passion for Jesus, because I know I have a passion for all of it, all the above, passion for the Holy Spirit. I got a passion. And so I could see that in you, that renewed relationship, that close connection. And I think that's something that's honing in because you have faith, because no matter what's happening with you materially, you still have faith. You still trust God because you know that the relationship with him is not about money. It's not about materials. God can bless us with materials, but it's about knowing on both ends, our end and his end, that our relationship with him isn't reliant on funds. Our relationship with him isn't reliant on, what we can get out the deal. our relationship with him is genuine. And as long as we keep that genuine relationship, whether we see money in our face or not, God is taking care of us. He's got us covered. God, like I explained to people, God understands that we need money here, but he's not necessarily a money God. 9 times out of 10, when you receive cash, it might be tied to Satan. Satan's more of a, I'll give you money, I'll give you money, I'll give you money God. God is, and I say God because he's a God to his people. He's not my God, just to be clear. God is the G-O-D, all caps, capital G at the best. When we talk about God, we put respect on his name. We always capitalize the G. When we talk about him, we capitalize the H. When we say he, we capitalize the H. We always put respect on God's name. And I think you can see my passion coming up. That's what I'm passionate about. But there is a chance for some love. I might even say renewed love. Almost like Cupid came out of nowhere and just shot you and someone that you may be having some problems with an arrow. And so now there's a renewed passion. There's a renewed purpose. There's passion there. Now it says the lovers, and it's got the number 6. Now the number 6 has to do with the relationship with self, the relationship with the higher self. 6 is, it resonates in this card in the fact that it's really true. If you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. Now, when it comes to passion, if you are working on your emotional intelligence, Cancer, and I feel like we are, and if you are just working on yourself as a whole, because I feel like for us, our emotions are our foundation, because we're a watery sign, we're a crab, we're water. I feel like for us, getting into having solid emotional ground and working on the relationship with ourselves is working on our sensitive emotions. Now, most of us have been sensitive since we were children, because cancers are some of the most sensitive children. Now, I did not have the most sensitive parents. I mean, my dad, he was a little bit of, I mean, they're both Aquariuses, and Aquariuses, they're not really emotional. But my dad's a super emotional man. It's a gift from God, though his emotions are a gift from God, because not all men have those emotions. It's a blessing, really. And even though he's emotional like that, you know, he had his own demons and he had his own problems. So when it came to me and my emotions, I never really had anybody there for my emotions. Now, my other sister's a Sagittarius and my other one's a Libra. So they're not as sensitive as I. So they didn't need that. And they weren't even the same child I was. They weren't the shy, sensitive, you know, child. I just remember being shy. I just remember being sensitive. I just remember, you know, always needing the comfort of someone. I just remember being born that way. Always needing to be comforted. You know, and that's something that I'm working with. But it makes sense when you think about our sign. We are a soft crab, a soft, super soft crab, mushy to the touch, who is in a hard shell. And the shell is symbolic of our home. So that's why a lot of us are homebodies, because we feel safe there. We feel protected there. It's very often that we come out of our shell, but it's just because we feel safe inside of our home. And there's nothing wrong with that, but as a Cancer, that can cripple us. I'll be the first to say that being a Cancer and not having that constant comfort, and my parents, I don't think that they knew that that's what I needed, because they were in survival mode. So they weren't thinking that, okay, this child, you know, and I was the firstborn, you know, so it's not like they were, they were thinking, okay, we need to be conscious. I don't think conscious parenting was really a thing. And I don't think that they was just a child, and I was my mom's first child, and, you know, my dad's first daughter. And I don't think that they thought, you know, that I needed someone to be sensitive with me. And with Cancers, if there's no one being sensitive with us and showing us that sensitivity all the way, some of us become cold and we hide out in our shell. That's another thing that our shell can be reminiscent of. That can be us just pretending to be tough, not wanting to be seen. And so, you know, when we work on 6, when we work on that relationship with the higher self, aka the inner child in us, aka the 3-year child in us, we are being our own parent, because we know what we need. We're parenting our own emotions. We're building a steadier, a stronger foundation. And it's not to say that our parents didn't love us. You know, I realize some of us had parents and some of us didn't. And mine just, they worked and they were in survival mode. I mean, they were in survival mode. And so, I'd had to reparent. I'd had to have conversations with my 3-year-old. How do I talk to my 3-year-old? I look at pictures of myself when I was 3, and I imagine myself as an adult protecting, loving, guiding, talking to, helping my younger self to understand where I'm at. And I find that brings my younger self peace. And that's what inner child healing is all about. I do not have a program that I can recommend. The Hood Healer. If you could tap into the Hood Healer, $30 a month on OnlyFans. Sex ain't selling. So there's lots of spiritual, she doesn't like to be associated with the spiritual community, I guess. But there are a lot of, there's different ways. There's different ways to praise God. And in this case, I understand once you get popular, you kind of have to cut off accessibility because then you're expending energy. So anyways, you can go on this OnlyFans, and she has the inner child healing there. It starts back in July. If you look back at those posts, that's when I did it. Or you can get on Google and just, inner child healing. You can get on Instagram and hit up inner child healing. It's an important something that we need to do, aka shadow work. And I'm going to be talking more about this because it's my mission to wake up the child in us so that we can light the way for the children today. The problem is we're so cut off from God, and you can tell you're cut off from God when you don't know who your child is. When you don't have a relationship with your inner child, how can you have a relationship with anybody else? Because now you have childhood wounds that you haven't sifted through. And what's going to happen is you're going to carry and you're going to put those childhood wounds on this other person the minute that they do something that triggers you. So it's very important to heal that. And also with having a renewed passion and a renewed relationship with God, Cancer, I'm going to say the 6 stands for when you know yourself, you know God. When you know your God, you know yourself. Spend time with your higher self. Get to know your inner child. Your inner child is the one who remembers who God is. People will say, oh, I don't remember stuff from my childhood. I don't remember. The reason you don't remember is because you've cut off your 3-year-old. Your 3-year-old is not dead. They're just buried in the dark of the subconscious mind. And now it's your job as an adult to hold yourself accountable, be real about your shit, and go talk to your inner child. As you talk to your inner child, suppressed memories will start to surface. As those memories surface, you start to remember who you are. As you start to remember who you are, you start to remember where you come from. Once you remember who you come from, you got to learn to accept the fact that that's where you come from, love, God. Once you realize and accept the fact, Cancer, that you come from love and God, which I see you will because this first card, this lady's in tune. Now, you're starting to restore your relationship with God. Now you can have the things that you're passionate about. Now you can have that passionate relationship because you're in alignment with your true self. Okay? Knight of Wands. So, Cancer, we see this girl out. She has a horse in the background, a black horse in the background. She has on black nail polish too. She's beating the drum and fire's coming off the drum. She's got like tikis. And it's really cool because the tikis have the third eye on them. They've got a triangle. There's fire, orange. Okay. So the wands has to do with our fire signs, okay? Our fire signs are going to be our Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. Fun. Creative fun. You are feeling those creative juices that I was just talking about, which means that you also have a lot of sexual energy going on. That's good. That's good. Because Cancer, if you are a woman, you are becoming in alignment with who you are. Now, of all the signs, the Aquarius is the divine masculine symbol, okay? And the Cancer is the divine feminine. So that means that of all the signs, the Aquarius holds the most manly, masculine energy. And this means that the Cancer holds the most female, feminine energy. Now, that's not to say that other signs cannot be feminine, but the Cancer is the divine feminine. The Cancer is also the mother of the zodiac. So this is why Cancer people might come up to us and tell us their life stories, and we don't know them. This is why our friends might call us when shit hits the fan because they trust our opinion. This is why family members may come talk to us when shit hits the fan because they trust our opinion. This is who we are. We are teachers. We are nurturers. We are mothers. Archangel Gabrielle, he is associated with the Cancer. He helps with parenting. He helps with nurturing. He helps with teaching the children. Cancer, I'm going to let you know right now that our job has to do with teaching. Okay? Because of the way that we can communicate. Because of the way that we feel people. Because whereas other signs don't give a fuck about understanding. We care about understanding. We care about understanding. Whereas other signs feel like it's not their fucking problem. We know that on a deep level, it's actually all of our problems. We understand that. God gave us the gift of understanding. He gave us the gift of understanding. That is why our emotions help us so much. This is why other people appreciate our opinions so much, because they know that we will try to understand. They know that we're not going to say things from a selfish viewpoint. They know that we will literally try to understand what they say. And when someone wants solid advice, they don't want to talk to someone who acts like they don't really care, or someone who can't be bothered to give a valid opinion, or someone who is afraid to tell them the truth. They want to talk to someone who's going to keep it real with them. So that is why. Now, this orange in the background has to do with our emotions. We are on fire. We want to be creative. We want to make things. We want to do art. And we're overthinking it. We're thinking about it too much. Do it. Do it. Just do it. Nike said, well, just do it. Now, when I see this black horse in the background, I think of Black Beauty. I think of something that is rare. The movie Black Beauty. I think of something that is rare. I think of something that is strong. I think of someone that... I think horses have a great intuition. I think I've actually heard that horses have a great intuition. Let your intuition guide you. Creativity isn't something that needs to be thought out. Creativity is something that you feel. Creativity is something that flows through you. Creativity is something that comes to you naturally. Feel it out. You have things, you have passion projects, you have things that you want to do it. If you can't do it, why? What is stopping you?